Mystic Raven once again on ESO Daily, and today we are going to be reviewing the viability of the Twiceborn Star for a DPS build. Now, I'm posting this for a number of reasons. We're going to be discussing the pros and the cons to the Twiceborn Star, and basically, the comparison as far as debunking the myth that the Twiceborn Star can pretty much do everything and anything. Now, it is true that the Twiceborn Star has a lot of pros to it, and basically, in my opinion, if you are switching out different builds, it comes in handy because you can pretty much set everything glyph wise and just switch out your munduses accordingly. So if I was going to go DPS, I could switch out 2 different mundus, and if I was going to go heals, I could go with 2 different munduses, and so on and so forth. And the Twiceborn Star lends itself very well for that purpose. But and we'll just go into it. But when we take a look at the character sheet, now this is where we're sitting at. Now this is pretty decent stats, because we're sitting at 42k max magicka. We're still sitting around 20k max health. Now, ideally for dungeons, we want to have that stat, so we're properly, statted for dungeons. And we're sitting at 58.1 spell crit. But here's the big deal. If you look at spell damage, you can see I have the Apprentice boon and I have the Thief boon on for the Twiceborn Star because we get 2 different munduses. But once again, we look at spell damage, and spell damage is 2,476. And keep in mind that with my Juliana set and with the Magnus, which is what I'm running, I actually have less spell damage. That affects my DPS. Okay, guys? Plain and simple, with my Julianus, I'm sitting around 3,000. And with Magnus. So with Julianus Magnus, I'm sitting at 3,000. And I'm sitting roughly almost at the same max magicka. But I do have slightly a little bit more health because of the Twiceborn Star triple stats, which is stamina, magicka, and health. Now, here's the thing. I have more stamina in this. So if you go take a look at my other character sheet, for the Nightblade, or how to properly trait your gear, I do show the stats, and this is significantly lower. This also is affecting my DPS. When I went out and tested it, I'm dealing on the average of 500 less damage. Now, it's true that I am critting more frequently, but because of my spell damage being lower, my crits are doing less. So, when we compare that with either Hunting's Rage or for stamina build, or if we're looking at a magicka build for Juliana's, for DPS, that is imperative, and that reflects that. Now, once again, if I'm utilizing the Twiceborn Star in a multi-feature type, builds, it is very flexible. So I'm not going to say it isn't competitive and it doesn't have the flexibility. It has more flexibility than other gear. So you don't have to carry like 5-6 different gear like I do. But I like to optimize, and because I like to optimize, I don't typically use the Twiceborn Star. But for this, we've upgraded, not completely to Legendary, but enough to the Epic in comparison. So once again, I'm just debunking this whole myth that Twiceborn Star fits every necessity. We were in a trial run. Somebody were in Twiceborn Star and had this argument that the Twiceborn Star was better. And I completely was like, you're grabbing a stat that you're not needing. So I'm magicka. I don't need stamina. And by utilizing the Twiceborn Star, I do get the extra mundus. However, I lose a stat in comparison. So Julianus gives me a spell damage, a spell power boost, a spell damage, points to my spell damage. The Twiceborn Star does not do that for me. the extra Mundus will compensate somewhat for that, and that's you know um, you know relevant. The Twice Born Star is competitive. It can get the job done in a lot of dungeons, but to say it's better than Juliana's, no. Hunding's, no. If that gear is set primarily for that role. Twice Born Star, if I was going to utilize the Twice Born Star, I would more or less use it for a magicka based tank personally. Now, is that to say that you can't use the Twice Born Star? Obviously, that's up to you as a player. If you're using multiple builds, like let's say you're going for a burst build, and then you have a DOT build, a dot build, you can use the Twice Born Star a lot more effective than having to swap out a ton of different gear. Now, keep in mind for DPS, magicka DPS, you know, Surge, Overwhelming Surge, and uh, the other one I'm trying to think of, Scathing Mage. The Overwhelming Surge and the Scathing Mage are still more optimized, even in comparison to that. So I'm not trying to say, once again, I think the devs do a great job, in trying to keep the playing field as even as possible. But once again, if we're talking about optimization and in your DPS, I would definitely, personally, not wear Twice Born Star. Once again, these numbers are reflective. You can go over, you can check out my other gear. You can see that we do have the extra Mundus. This isn't a bug. I could even show you the inventory. There's the Magnus, and then there's the Twice Born Star. And once again, we did go Nirnholm on this. We wanted to make it legit as possible. So basically, when I did do the testing, we could get accurate numbers. But seriously, I don't have a parser, but from the abilities and from going out and testing it, I am dealing about 500 less DPS. Now, that's not too bad, but to say it's optimized compared to Julianos or Hundings, that's not the truth, and that's not the case. If you guys watch any of the hardcore players, they're completely, not utilizing Twice Born Star for DPS in dungeons. They're optimizing more frequently. Now, because we are using the Twice Born Star, we do want to maximize its potential. So this is all divine. Beside the weapon, it is. Now, someone's going to say, oh, well, you should have Torox Pack, or you should use Molakina. Once again, I have done the testing in the number crunch on that, and I can honestly tell you that you can switch out with the Torox Pack and the Molakina, which I also do with the Julianis, and the numbers are still reflective, meaning we are still sitting lower, because when we take a look at Juliana's, we're missing that 299 spell damage, which is why my character sheet looks the way it does, because if we had that extra 299, we'd be pushing close to the 3k marker. And even with the apprentice boon, with the 1% per piece, we would be getting still less with the Twice Born Star. So, and that reflects base damage, because all of your base damage is equivalent to that. Even if you get the crit or the burst, your burst damage and your crit is based off of your base damage. So whatever your base damage does, even when you crit, that affects how much your crit will actually deal in comparison. Now, we could go with the Thief and the Shadow. The Shadow would increase the crit damage, but once again, we would even significantly lower the spell damage, thus, getting this basically the same results, because once again, even that's what that is doing. It's just compensating. The Shadow is going to compensate for the missing base damage. So, once again, you guys can take a look at the numbers. You can go back in my other sheet. I just wanted to put this out there, debunk it. Twice Born Star is a great set. I'm not going to say it isn't, but it doesn't optimize. And there you have it, people. I do want to thank everybody for watching. If you liked the video, please feel free to subscribe. And once again, and always, have a nice day.